She was the teenage sensation who could outmaneuver grown men on the most dangerous rock crawling courses in America. Katelynn Boren dominated competitions that left seasoned veterans shaking their heads in disbelief. But now, this rising star has mysteriously vanished from Matt's off-road recovery videos, leaving thousands of fans wondering what really happened. The silence around her disappearance has sparked wild theories and heated debates across social media. Was it an injury, family drama, or something far more shocking? The truth behind Katelynn's sudden exit from the spotlight reveals a story that nobody saw coming. The name Katelynn Boren used to strike fear into the hearts of seasoned rock-crawling veterans across the country. At just 14 years old, this Hurricane, Utah native was demolishing adult competitors in extreme rock-crawling competitions while most teenagers were worried about homework and dating drama. Her rise to fame wasn't gradual, it was explosive and undeniable. Katelynn's journey began with her father Kevin, who had been competing in rock crawling for over 20 years. Initially, Kevin struggled to find consistent spotters for competitions, but as his daughter grew older, he made a decision that would change everything. Instead of continuing his search for adult partners, he put Katelynn behind the wheel and moved to the spotter position. What happened next shocked everyone in the rock-crawling community. Within months of taking the driver's seat, Katelynn was dominating competitions that made grown men question their life choices. In her final 6 major competitions before joining Matt's crew, she finished first place 4 times and second place twice. These weren't beginner courses designed for teenagers. These were the kind of death-defying obstacles that required split-second decision-making and nerves of steel. With only 10 minutes to navigate each course and penalty points for every mistake, most drivers crumbled under the pressure. But Katelynn thrived on it. Her ice-cold composure became legendary among competitors. While other drivers would panic when faced with impossible terrain, she would calmly assess each obstacle and execute flawless maneuvers that left spectators speechless. The father-daughter team, known as Crazy K's, quickly became the talk of the World Extreme Rock Crawling Championship Series. Katelynn had won both the Eastern and Western Series championships, establishing herself as the most promising young talent the sport had ever seen. But this meteoric rise would soon lead her into the world of YouTube fame, and that's where everything started to unravel. Matt Wetzel's first encounter with Katelynn and Kevin Boren happened at a rock-crawling competition, and he immediately recognized something special. Here was a teenage girl outperforming adult men in one of the most demanding motorsports imaginable, displaying the kind of precision driving skills that his YouTube audience would absolutely love. It seemed like a match made in off-road heaven. Matt's channel needed fresh talent with authentic skills, and the Boren family could use the massive exposure for securing better sponsorship deals. Katelynn's integration into Matt's off-road recovery wasn't just another celebrity cameo situation. She brought her competitive edge and fearless attitude directly to the recovery operations, showcasing the same precision driving that had made her a champion on the rock-crawling circuit. Viewers were immediately captivated by seeing someone so young confidently handling situations that would intimidate experienced drivers. Her appearances demonstrated real expertise, not just YouTube drama manufactured for views. The chemistry between Katelynn and the Marar crew was undeniable. She fit naturally into their dynamic, bringing a unique perspective as both a young woman and an elite-level driver in a predominantly male-dominated field. Fans loved watching her hold her own alongside Matt's experienced team members, often taking on recovery challenges that would make other drivers hesitate. Her technical knowledge and calm demeanor under pressure made her segments must-watch content for the channel's millions of subscribers. But behind the scenes, the collaboration represented something bigger for the Boren family. YouTube exposure meant potential access to major sponsors and opportunities that traditional rock-crawling competitions alone couldn't provide. The partnership seemed perfect. Katelynn got a platform to showcase her incredible skills to a massive audience, while Matt's channel gained a compelling young personality who brought authentic expertise rather than manufactured drama. Nobody anticipated that this promising relationship would eventually lead to one of the most mysterious disappearances in the off-road YouTube community. Rock crawling isn't just an extreme sport. It's a calculated dance with disaster that happens inches away from catastrophic failure every single weekend. The courses that competitors like Katelynn tackle would make most people's hands shake just from watching the action unfold. Imagine navigating your vehicle through gaps so narrow that scraping paint is inevitable, over drops so steep that one wrong move sends you tumbling down cliff faces, all while racing against a 10-minute clock that adds psychological pressure to an already impossible situation. Equipment failures in rock crawling happen with terrifying frequency, and they're not minor inconveniences. they're expensive nightmares that can instantly end competitions and seasons. Broken axles snap under extreme torque loads, drive shafts separate at the worst possible moments, and hydraulic systems fail when drivers need them most, leaving competitors stranded in the middle of obstacles that would be impossible to navigate on foot. For teams like Crazy K's operating on tight budgets, every mechanical failure represented a potential financial disaster that could sideline them for months. The technical demands of competitive rock crawling push both machines and humans to their absolute limits. Drivers must maintain perfect throttle control while their spotters guide them through obstacles where a 6-inch miscalculation means the difference between victory and catastrophic failure. The mental pressure is crushing, minus spectators watching from mere feet away as drivers attempt maneuvers that defy physics and common sense. Vehicle rollovers aren't rare occurrences, they're expected hazards that every team prepares for but hopes to avoid. But the real danger lurking behind every gate isn't mechanical failure or even minor accidents. It's gravity itself, waiting patiently for that one moment when physics overpowers skill and preparation. For young competitors like Katelynn, who had built their reputation on conquering increasingly dangerous obstacles, the line between calculated risk and genuine peril was getting thinner with every competition. And at the WE Rock Nationals, that line finally disappeared completely. The WE Rock Nationals in Farmington, New Mexico, should have been Katelynn and Kevin's crowning achievement. They arrived as championship contenders, having dominated competitions throughout the season with their signature combination of fearless driving and tactical precision. The event represented everything they had worked toward, a chance to prove themselves against the absolute best competitors in the country on the sport's biggest stage. Instead, it became the moment that changed everything for Team Crazy K's forever. The obstacle that ended their championship dreams was positioned near a cliff edge, exactly the kind of high-risk, high-reward challenge that separated true champions from weekend warriors. These types of gates were Katelynn's specialty. She had built her reputation on conquering obstacles that made other drivers back down. But rock crawling has a way of humbling even the most skilled competitors when they least expect it. Their Cherokee made contact with the terrain at precisely the wrong angle, and what started as a manageable navigation challenge quickly spiraled into every parent's worst nightmare. The sequence of events happened with devastating speed. The Jeep rolled completely over and began tumbling toward the cliff edge, with Kevin watching helplessly from his spotter position as his teenage daughter disappeared over the precipice in their 4,000-pound vehicle. The Cherokee dropped 30 feet straight down, slamming into the ground below with bone-crushing force that should have been fatal for anyone inside. For those agonizing seconds before Kevin could reach the crash site, he didn't know if his daughter was alive or dead. Miraculously, Katelynn survived the fall thanks to their professionally built roll cage, but their championship dreams were crushed along with their Cherokee. The vehicle was completely destroyed, a devastating financial blow for a family already stretching every dollar to fund their expensive racing hobby. More importantly, the accident had shaken something fundamental in both father and daughter that would never fully heal. The aftermath of the cliff accident created a perfect storm of challenges that began dismantling everything the Boren family had built in competitive rock crawling. While Katelynn emerged physically unharmed from the 30-foot fall, the financial devastation was immediate and crushing. Their Cherokee represented years of modifications, upgrades, and fine-tuning, all obliterated in seconds. Insurance doesn't cover competitive racing vehicles, meaning the family faced the impossible task of rebuilding from scratch while dealing with the emotional trauma of nearly losing their daughter. The rock crawling community rallied around Team Crazy K's with overwhelming support. Organizations like RME4i4 organized fundraising campaigns that raised over $1,000 to help with the rebuild, demonstrating the genuine affection and respect Katelynn had earned throughout the sport. But even with community support, the financial reality was brutal. Professional-level rock crawling requires massive ongoing investment, custom-built vehicles, constant maintenance, travel expenses, entry fees, and specialized equipment that can cost more than most people's cars. Recent competition reports revealed a troubling pattern of mechanical failures that suggested deeper problems. Equipment breakdowns became increasingly frequent, broken upper control arm bolts, hydraulic line failures, transmission problems that forced withdrawals from competitions at crucial moments. In one particularly devastating event, multiple system failures eliminated any chance of placing, highlighting how their aging equipment was struggling to maintain competitive performance levels. Kevin later admitted that watching his teenage daughter plummet off a cliff fundamentally changed his perspective on the risks they faced every weekend. The thrill of victory suddenly seemed less important than ensuring his daughter's safety and future. Financial pressures mounted as sponsorship opportunities became harder to secure, and the cost of maintaining competitive equipment continued escalating. The writing was on the wall. Their current approach to professional rock crawling wasn't sustainable for a family operating on a tight budget while prioritizing their daughter's well-being and future opportunities. The silence that followed Katelynn's reduced presence on Matt's off-road recovery was deafening for longtime fans who had grown accustomed to seeing their favorite teenage driver tackle impossible recoveries with Matt's crew. Her appearances became less frequent without any official explanation, then stopped entirely, leaving viewers confused and concerned. Social media posts grew sporadic, competition results became harder to find, and the dynamic young personality who had captured hearts across the off-road community seemed to have quietly faded into the background. Recent rock crawling event reports contained telling details that raised more questions than answers. Official results mentioned that Katelynn decided to not come this year without providing any context for her absence from competitions she had previously dominated. Her father Kevin continued competing with other family members, including younger daughter Sydney, but the legendary father-daughter combination that had defined Team Crazy K's success appeared to have dissolved without fanfare or explanation. Speculation ran wild across off-road forums and social media platforms. Had she been seriously injured in an unreported accident? Was there behind-the-scenes family drama that forced her withdrawal from public racing? Had the financial pressures finally become overwhelming for a family trying to support a teenager's professional racing career? Some fans theorized about potential conflicts with Matt's production team, while others wondered if college preparations or other life priorities had simply taken precedence over racing. Matt's off-road recovery continued thriving with other personalities filling the content gaps, but longtime viewers consistently noticed and commented on Katelynn's absence. Her unique combination of technical skill, youthful enthusiasm, and genuine expertise had created a devoted fan base that refused to forget about their missing star. The lack of official statements from either the Boren family or Matt's team only fueled more speculation about what had really happened to one of the channel's most compelling personalities. Current information about Katelynn's activities reveals a young woman in transition, carefully navigating the challenging shift from teenage racing prodigy to adult competitor, while dealing with the practical realities of funding professional motorsports. According to recent reports, she's focused on a major project that represents both her ambitions and the lessons learned from her cliff accident, transitioning from sportsman class competition to building a purpose-built buggy designed for pro mod class racing. This transition represents a massive step up in both performance capabilities and financial commitment. Pro mod class vehicles are purpose-built racing machines that cost significantly more than the modified production vehicles she had been driving. The family is reportedly working on a completely new build using salvage components from their destroyed Cherokee, but the timeline for completion remains uncertain due to funding constraints and the complexity of the project. Recent social media activity suggests Katelynn remains actively involved in the off-road community, but at a much lower profile than during her Matt's off-road recovery appearances. She's been spotted at various automotive events and continues maintaining relationships within the rock crawling community, though her competitive appearances have become rare. Some sources indicate she's exploring opportunities in other areas of the automotive industry while keeping her options open for a potential return to professional competition. The challenge facing Katelynn mirrors that of many young athletes transitioning into adulthood, balancing childhood passions with adult responsibilities and financial realities. At 16 years old, she's reached an age where decisions about education, career paths, and long-term goals become increasingly important. Her racing career had provided incredible experiences and opportunities, but sustaining professional-level competition requires resources and commitment that may not align with other life priorities. Whether fans will see Katelynn return to Matt's off-road recovery or competitive rock crawling remains an open question that only she and her family can answer. The truth about Katelynn Boren's disappearance from Matt's off-road recovery isn't scandalous or dramatic. It's the reality of a talented young person navigating the impossible economics of professional motorsports while growing into adulthood. Her story serves as a reminder that even the most promising careers can be derailed by circumstances beyond anyone's control, and that sometimes stepping away from the spotlight is the smartest decision a young athlete can make.